You have to take the starter out of the refrigerator, and at first you have to feed it. You're not going to be baking bread that day.
Oh, you can't just take the starter out, grab some, and put it in your
And put
dough?
in your dough. No, because it's slowed down. It's a little heavy, and it's not very active right now.
I think this is why I've killed all the sourdough starter that's ever been given to me. Okay.
Yeah.
So you take it
I
out.
literally I go through this all the time with I
Okay.
just went through this with my cousin. They called me in a panic. They're like, "We're throwing the starter in. Why isn't it working?" Oh, all right, slow down. You have to take it out, and you have to activate the yeast basically. So it's laying in this dormant, sleepy condition in the refrigerator. And you take it out, and you take like a big tablespoon of it, put it in a little bowl, and then you
Okay.
feed it flour and water like we did before. But now it's out. It's at room temperature.
So you put the
So
rest of it back in.
put the
You've
rest of it
kept
back
this
in.
this big spoonful with flour
Yeah.
and water. Okay.
Right, exactly. So then it gets a little active, and probably maybe like kind of doubles in size, but it's still a little heavy. It's still a little thick. You throw all of that out except for 1 tablespoon. You dump it down the sink, and then you put more flour and water in equal parts. And when you're getting to the part about baking, and if your starter's pretty active, it'll take only 2 feedings. Sometimes it's 3, but usually at 2, I get away with it. On that second feeding,
What is
it
happening? My mind
becomes
is
super it becomes super active, and now it's like tripled in size, and it's light and airy. It's got a little bubbles on top, and it's this light airy thing. And there's a thing called the float test. If you want to test if your starter's ready to bake, you take a little piece of a tablespoon of it, put it in some water, and if it floats, it's light and airy enough. It's going to be active enough to be put in with flour and water and make a bread.
wow.
So this is a day. So this is like a day and a half we're already in, right? Because we've taken it
Right.
out and you're feeding it. And now you've got this thing that's active. Now you can mix your dough.
Okay.
So
How
now
much?
you take about 1,000 grams of flour. This is for 2 loaves.
Okay.
About 1,000 grams of flour, and then you mix that in with water. Like 750 grams would be 75% hydration.
Okay.
Which, so like the bread I gave you was pretty like airy in between. It's not
Yeah.
like super
Yeah.
dense.
Nope.
75% is about that. You can go up to like 85%. It gets really airy. Uh, so you add the water and the flour, mix that up, and then you let it sit for about a half an hour. This is a process called autolyse.
How do you spell autolyse?
Auto,
Auto.
Lyse.
Lyse. Okay.
Yeah. And that really lets the flour soak up all the water. It's all soaked in, and it'll start to expand a little bit. And then you add your starter.
Wow. Okay.
Starter, a little more water, and salt.
And that's when the salt goes in.
That's when the salt comes in, about 2 tablespoons of salt.
For
And
two loaves of bread.
it's going
Okay.
to be about 2 loaves.
Okay.
So then you mix all that together in your little starter bowl, and then you pour that, you marry it with the flour you mixed earlier with the flour and water. And now you've got a dough. You mix it all up with your hands,